Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of my beginner series for selling print-on-demand products on the Etsy platform. Today we're going to talk about the number one thing that makes Etsy a different platform for print-on-demand sellers compared to some other sites that you might already know and be comfortable with, and that is communicating directly with your customers. We're going to talk about the importance of having a strategy for communicating with your customers and think through the impacts that that has on your Etsy shop and your long-term success. So stick around. I think you'll pick something up whether you're brand new and haven't opened your shop yet or whether you're already in there selling, and hopefully you find it helpful. So let's dive in. All right, let's dive into episode 1 of my series for beginners in selling print on demand on the Etsy platform. My name is Jeff. Before we dive into the content, let me give you just a little introduction here. So I'm a print on demand seller on the Etsy platform. I also do merch by Amazon, and I'm on a few other sites as well. This is my real shop stats page. I just took the screenshot today. So as you can see, I haven't been doing this for a super long time. I started my store in August of 2020, but I do have over 1,000 sales and over $24,000 in total sales revenue up to this point in time, and this is growing every day. I'm currently averaging anywhere from 150 to 200 sales a month. And so I know I haven't been doing this quite as long as some other folks that are out there giving advice for print-on-demand selling on Etsy, but I've just learned so much in the last few months that I really feel that I can help some of you who are starting print-on-demand businesses on Etsy with some of the things that I've learned along the way. And these are also my merch by Amazon credentials here. I'm currently in tier 1000. As you can see, I've had some pretty consistent sales the last few months since the fourth quarter. And I'm over 900 sales now. I'm getting pretty close to being tier 2000 as well. So again, plenty of people out there that are in much higher tiers than me, but I have seen some success running a print-on-demand business and also on the merch by Amazon platform. All right, so before we talk about the topic for today, let's just level set since this is episode 1 and talk about for a second, what's the opportunity in selling print on demand on the Etsy platform? Well, Etsy's gross merchandise sales, or GMS, which is just the value of all the merchandise that they sold through their platform in 2020, was a 107% increase over 2019, and that was $10.28 billion. So just a huge amount of sales, and that's been increasing year after year for Etsy, which means lots of traffic going to their site and seeing all of those sellers' products. We can take advantage of this and sort of get a piece of the action with print on demand. All right, so now let's talk about what makes Etsy different and then what that means for us as Etsy sellers. So if you think about some of the other print on demand platforms that are more integrated as far as the production of items and the customer experience, these are platforms like Merch by Amazon, Redbubble, Spring, which was Teespring, and then they rebranded to just Spring, and TeePublic. And what all these have in common is that as the seller, you're not actually really doing much selling in terms of managing customer relationships. You're uploading your designs, placing them on products, setting your pricing. But after that, and you do the keyword tagging and all that, but after that, you're really just waiting for your products to sell. You don't interface with customers, you don't handle customer inquiries, you don't really get involved in the production and shipping and all of that stuff. Not at all that way with the Etsy platform. Etsy is a lot more like if you've ever experienced selling on Seller Central on Amazon, where you are truly a seller and you handle your own customers. This means you are the customer's contact, not the platform. So any questions that customers have are going to come to you. And the good news is you get notifications from Etsy either through the app, push notifications, or through email when you do get an inquiry from a customer. So you'll always know if you have something that you need to respond to. But there's not really a whole lot of support from Etsy to the customer unless something goes unresolved and they file a formal complaint and all that. But we're just talking about everyday interactions for right now. So what this means is unhappy customers impact you. They impact you a lot. So how can we build a successful business and keep our customers happy going in knowing we're going to have some interactions with customers that we'll have to manage? Well, first and foremost, you need to have a strategy for handling returns and exchanges. And what I really should say is handling requests for returns and exchanges. You might think that you won't have to deal with this if you just make your shop policy that I don't accept returns or exchanges, right? Just like I do, because all of my listings, there's a section that looks just like this where it says under returns and exchanges, not accepted. I also put a sentence right in the description of all of my listings that says I don't accept returns or exchanges, just because I'm trying to communicate it as clearly as I can. But this does not mean at all that customers won't reach out and ask you for a return and a refund or an exchange. Customers sometimes just don't read these things, or if they did read it, they're still just hoping to get their money back. So you're going to get messages asking for returns or exchanges. I get anywhere from 3 to 4 a month, and I'm currently averaging anywhere from 150 to 200 sales a month. So it's not a high percentage, but you're going to get some. So the good news is you don't need to accept returns to be successful on Etsy. This is good news because returns are kind of a big headache. And thinking about print on demand, let's remember what print on demand is, right? On demand is in the name, so inventory is not really part of the business model. Print on demand plus returns basically just equals a big headache, sad face, not a good time. And there's a lot of reasons for that other than just the concept of print on demand doesn't align with it, but that's kind of the biggest reason, right? Print on demand is a no inventory model for you, the seller, meaning there's no finished products just stacked up in a warehouse or sitting in your spare bedroom waiting to be sold. Your supplier is the only place in the chain where there's any inventory at all, but it's not finished products, it's blank products. They keep an inventory of blank t-shirts, other apparel items, mugs, accessories, and then when they get an order from you or from another seller, they make that item to order, they pack it, they ship it. So it's a drop shipping model where there's no inventory except for blank products. So you're kind of going against the idea of the print on demand business model if you want to try to accept returns. Logistics is the biggest tangible reason why accepting returns really is just a big headache. So think about when a customer receives an item that was printed on demand, unless you set a specific custom address as the return address with your supplier, the return address is going to be their address, their fulfillment center, right? Well, they're not set up to handle returns because that's not part of the business model. So if they get something back from your customer, they're most likely just going to pitch it as soon as they get it. They're not going to keep it. Some suppliers, as a courtesy, will let you know that they received something back. I believe Printful does this. And they'll give you a couple days to respond and maybe update the shipping address if it was sent to the wrong place or something like that. But they're not going to hold on to it long term and just wait for another sale so they can sell it to another customer. That's not what they do. So if you want to really accept returns, you need to have a different address to send those returns to, which means one of two things. Either you need to get a new address, like a P.O. box that you're going to pay for just to take returns, or you're going to have to give the customer your personal address so that you can get the return yourself. I'm just not comfortable doing that, giving my address to who knows how many people just so I can take some returns back and then have the headache of holding on to inventory myself. I'm getting a headache just thinking about it. For me, it's just not worth all of this. And then lastly, if you needed another reason, customers don't expect to pay return shipping if they're returning something, so you're going to have to buy another shipping label so that they can send it to you. Now you just paid for shipping twice on something, and there's no guarantee that that item resells. So, no thanks. But good news, like I said at the beginning, to be successful selling on Etsy, you don't need to accept returns. However, you still need to make customers happy if you want long-term success selling on Etsy. So how can we make sure our customers stay happy if we're not going to take returns or exchanges? First of all, we're going to just need to accept the idea that occasionally we will lose a little bit of money. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive to, success in e-commerce, but occasionally you're going to have to be okay with absorbing a loss if it means that somebody is going to be satisfied, they're going to leave you alone and not give you a 1-star review, because as I'll say again in just a minute, it's not worth it. It's not worth building up a bunch of one-star reviews because you're refusing to give somebody a refund and nothing else will satisfy them. So this is supposed to be rare. Don't get me wrong, we don't want to do this any more than absolutely necessary, but get used to the idea that once in a while you're going to lose money on an order. So what else can you do? You can let the customer know you want to help. Just let them know that you're a person who's there to help another person. You know, I'm here to help you. I want to come up with something that makes us both happy here. One of the things you can do is remind them why you don't accept returns. I've found that a lot of people seem to be understanding when I just kind of point out that, hey, my items are all made to order. There's no inventory. I can't resell something if I take it back from you. That's why. It's not, I'm not trying to be a jerk and not take returns from anybody, but I can't because of the way I run my business. A lot of people seem to understand that if you explain it to them in polite terms. So absolutely do not be unresponsive or dismissive. So let's take those two separately. Being unresponsive means taking a long time to respond or not responding at all. Not a good idea if you're a seller on Etsy, because Etsy keeps track of how long it takes you to respond to your customers, and that long term has an impact on your standing with Etsy and things like your search ranking, which we'll get to in a minute. So remember, I mentioned earlier, you do get push notifications if you have the seller app. You get an email as well if you're not using the seller app. So you'll know if somebody messages you. Definitely give them a timely response. Being dismissive basically means kind of being rude. So if somebody asks you if they can have a refund or return something, and you just respond with a one-sentence email that says, as stated on my listings, I don't take returns, period. They're not going to like that, right? Nobody likes to receive an email like that. It'll just make them angry, and it'll actually maybe push them to leave you a one-star review. And the point of all this is it's not worth it. It's not worth getting that one-star review, because when you're a new seller and you don't have a lot of reviews, your average is based on a very small number of reviews, right? So if you only have 10 reviews and 3 of them are one-star reviews, then your average star rating is going to be pretty low. That has an impact on your search ranking. I'll explain that a little bit more in depth in just a second. So definitely want to avoid those one-star reviews. So let's talk just a little bit more about maybe the step before giving a refund and how that's different than offering returns. So a lot of customers will be satisfied if you offer them something else. It's got to feel like a compromise. It needs to be something. It doesn't have to be a refund, right? So here's an example of what I do if a customer reaches out to me because they bought the wrong size. So there's no product issue, there's no quality problem. It's just that they needed a large, but they bought a medium, let's say. This is a typical response that I use. I will say something like, we don't accept returns or exchanges because all our items are made to order. So bad news first, right? But good news second. I understand that getting something that doesn't fit is frustrating. So I'm telling them I'm here, I get it, I understand. If you're interested in getting another size, I can offer a discount so we don't make any additional profit. So what I'm willing to do is let them purchase, so they're going to have to buy another t-shirt, let's say for this example, but I'm going to give them a special discount so that I don't make another dime off them. I'm just going to break even on the second shirt. So that still is something, right? I'm not just refusing what they asked for, I'm offering something of a compromise. There is a way that you can do this, and I've done it a couple of times. I've had a couple of customers take me up on this offer, and they appreciated it. I have never gotten a one-star review as a result of taking this approach. Now, I've had over 1,000 sales. I don't have 50,000 sales, so maybe I will someday get a one-star review if I offer this, but up to this point, it hasn't backfired on me. A lot of customers simply say, okay, thanks, and they don't message me back, and they also don't leave a review. So it works out most of the time. So the way to do that, I'll cover in a different video. Basically, you're going to create a single-use coupon code that's good for maybe 48 hours. You target it to a specific product, and you only tell this customer the coupon code so that they can't share it. It will expire and not be usable by multiple people. So it's a pretty safe method. Lastly, you can offer that refund. If their response, to an offer like this basically is, I don't care, I don't want to pay for another shirt, just leave me alone, I want my money back. Well, that sounds like somebody who's going to leave me a 1-star review if I'm not accommodating and offering them a refund. So I'm probably just going to offer them the refund. All right, so if you're still watching at this point now, I'm going to mention a little bit more about why all this matters. It really matters because your shop reviews and interactions with customers impact your search rankings. So think about if somebody searches for a product, where you place on those search results. It's not just about how many of those items you've sold and how many people have clicked on your listing. Of course, Etsy uses those factors when they figure out your search ranking, but they also use some other stuff. And how do you know what that other stuff is? Well, they tell you. Etsy has an article on their site, which I will put a link to. The URL is right there on the screen, but I'll also put a link in the description here so you can go read this page. It's a pretty lengthy article, but I highly recommend you checking it out because Etsy basically is telling us everything that they use in Etsy search to figure out where your product should go in the listings, right, in the ranking. And right in the middle is something they call Customer and Market Experience Score. And that includes, I highlighted it, getting great reviews. So having positive interactions with customers, it's not just about how that looks. It's not about like, oh, I have a 5-star average review. And yes, that does positively influence customers, potential customers, to want to buy from you. And that's good. But it also affects how high up you show up in the search rankings. It could be the difference between being on page 1 and being on page 2. If you're in a competitive space for a product and there's other sellers that have better customer and market experience scores than you. So don't be that seller that loses out on sales because you're not helping your customers when they have an issue. All right, so let's do a recap here and then we'll wrap this video up. First of all, plan on interacting with your customers. So if you're going to do print-on-demand selling on Etsy, just go into it understanding that you're going to have to interface directly with customers. It's going to take more of your time to maintain that customer relationship than it does on a lot of the other platforms where you're totally out of the customer service side of the business. However, you don't need to accept returns to be successful. So you can just put all your listings out there with the policy of returns or exchanges are not accepted. That is perfectly viable method and it makes sense for print on demand. But that doesn't mean you can ignore your customers. We still need to keep our customers happy if we want long-term success selling on Etsy. So you can let them know that you want to help. Be a good communicator. Just let them know that you want to find a solution for them. Offer something other than a refund first. Give it a shot. Just see if they're willing to take a compromise. As a last resort, you may have to offer some people a refund and you will occasionally lose money. It's just the nature of the business. But we are in this to build a big enough, most successful enough business that losing $10 on a t-shirt sale once a month, not a big deal, right? Hopefully we can all achieve that level of success. And hopefully, we can continue learning together about how to be more successful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like and a follow if you want to see more content like this. I have several videos for this series planned. And let me know in the comments if you liked something or if you didn't like something or if there's specific content you want to see. I'd be happy to review it. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.